I've been lurking on this sub for a while now and wanted to share my story. It was Thanksgiving 2011 and I was celebrating at my grandparents' farm in the little town of Seaville, Florida. It's north of the land. I've had way too much to eat that holiday and was about to leave to drive back to school in Tennessee. I stopped at the one little gas station in town to fill up before getting on the highway. I had just finished filling up when a lady walked up to me. She was really ratty looking with crazy blonde dyed hair, but this is the backwoods of Florida, so no judgment. There were really kind people who looked like that back in those parts. She started talking to me about how her car had run out of gas. She pointed to an old junker parked at the convenience store, and if I could possibly give her some cash to get home. I usually don't say yes to things like this, but it was Thanksgiving weekend, so I was feeling extra generous. I told her that I'd be happy to fill her up to get her home. Then it started getting weird. She kept insisting I give her cash and that the car was so empty she couldn't drive it to the pump. I don't know why I didn't leave right there and then, but again, I was in a very good mood. I told her if she had a gas can, I would put some in, but I didn't feel comfortable giving her cash. She kept objecting, but eventually went over and pulled a gas can from her car. I started filling it up. She put her hand on me and said, "Do you have a girlfriend?" I told her no politely. She said she wanted to pay me back somehow for the gas and asked if I wanted to come back to her place. I told her no, less politely. She kept touching my shoulder, thanking me, and then told me to meet her behind the station. So I stopped at the gas pump, got in my car, and left her there with the gas can. I called my mom a little later and told her about the creepy encounter. She paused and asked me if the lady had ratty blonde hair and looked like she was on drugs. I confirmed that yes, that is what she looked like, and how could she have known? The lady was apparently all over the news. She was a prostitute in town and had been at a party. An exchange had gone south, and her baby had been kidnapped by a client of hers and left under a bush. She hadn't even bothered to call the police about her missing child until later. They were both arrested and charged. I can provide news stories if anyone needs proof. This was a very strange encounter. It was very scary at the time, but when I tell people the story, they usually don't think it was something to freak out about. Last Thanksgiving, I was driving home from college with my friend, both 21 female at the time. I live in a very isolated part of Arkansas that requires driving through an hour of hairpin turns in the mountains. There are lots of blind turns, and the whole time you're driving on the edge of huge drop-offs with no barriers. I'm usually pretty confident driving through the mountains, but we were in my friend's car, so I was going slower than usual, driving about 5 over the speed limit. Almost as soon as we started the roughest part of the drive, another car was tailgating us pretty close. This was stressing me out, and as soon as I saw somewhere I could pull over, I did. I pulled into a church parking lot, and my friend offered to drive the rest of the way, but I declined as it was completely dark, and she had never driven this route before. We get back on our way, and a few minutes later, I have to come to a screeching halt as there's a car stopped in the middle of the road. It wasn't on the shoulder at all, just stopped dead in the middle of the road. My friend is saying that they must have broken down, but can't call a tow cause there's no service in this area. I immediately have a bad feeling and lock the doors. I tell my friend to stay in the car no matter what. She's starting to get scared at this point and points out she thinks there's a car that was following us. I can't tell, but I am pretty scared at this point. It's parked right before one of those hairpin turns, so I can't pass it. My friend starts frantically telling me to go ahead and pass it, but I don't want to get hit by a Mack truck or fall off a mountain. I honk my horn, nothing happens. No chance of calling for help as there's no cell service. We wait there for a while doing nothing. My friend is crying and freaking out, but I'm too scared to try past them. I honk a couple of times, and eventually a guy gets out of the car, comes around back and leans against his car just staring at us. My friend is freaking out even more, and I'm just frozen. I tell her not to make eye contact. I'm ready to floor it if he does something, but he just kinda stands there staring. He's not checking his car or anything. I try to stay calm and pray that another car will come along. This goes on for what seems like forever, but was probably just 15 minutes. He's just casually leaning against his car looking at us. Eventually we see car lights in the rear view, and the guy jogs off to his door and gets back in his car. He speeds off, going dangerously fast, so there was definitely nothing wrong with his car. I start driving, not wanting to cause a wreck. We don't see anything else for a while, but we pass the same car parked along the highway a while later, and it pulls back on and starts tailing us again. I try to speed up and get rid of him, but he keeps following. We have cell service at this point, but I don't know if we should call the cops, because really nothing happened. I call home and tell my brothers what is going on and tell them to wait on the porch for us. The car follows me all the way home down a really long drive to my house. I get to my house and my two brothers are waiting on the porch holding their deer rifles. I pull in and the car just goes to the end of the drive, loops around, and speeds back off the way it came. We tried to see its plates, but we couldn't make them out. Me and my friend were really freaked out, but I told her other friends the whole story and they didn't think it was a big deal. So I'm a male nurse at a large hospital in San Francisco. I work in the ER and it's a Thanksgiving night and it's very busy for some reason. Now my wife is also a nurse for the same hospital. She works in labor and delivery. Between babies being born left and right and the people coming into the ER, we hadn't had a chance to take a break together as we try to do every shift. So when she called, I figured it was just to say she wanted to meet up for a bite to eat in the cafeteria. When I answered, I heard in the background a male voice screaming profanities in the background at my wife, who is fluent in Spanish, trying to calm this guy down. She told me that their pager wasn't working and they needed security stat. I quickly hung up and called for security, told my fellow nurses what was going on, and ran for labor and delivery, worried sick about my wife. When I ran almost square smack dab into this visibly angry man, he wasn't huge, but bro definitely worked out, not at the gym. He was covered in prison tattoos, and he was obviously a banger. I work out regularly, but I knew this guy could kick my ass. He looked at me, gave me the sick grin, and started heading towards me, sprouting off in Spanish. I don't speak fluent Spanish, but what I could understand was scaring the living shit out of me. I backed up as fast as I can. I started buzzing the door to the ER frantically to get them to let me in. This guy's literally a foot away from me, and the door opens, and I'm pulled into safety by a doctor. Gangbanger punches the door a few times, makes a dragging sign across his throat while grinning at both us. Next thing I know, the police rush into the corridor he's in, and it takes 2 security officers and 2 cops to subdue this dude. I finally make it to my wife, who thankfully was shaken up but unhurt. She explained to me what happened. A young girl, only 14, came in, high fever, vomiting, and had a distended belly. The banger claimed to be her brother, and they needed to cut her open to get her baby. They did an ultrasound, and to their horror, they realized she wasn't pregnant. She had bags of drugs in her stomach. It's very common for drug dealers to bring over a young woman from Mexico carrying drugs that way. Homeboy freaked out when they informed him his sister needed emergency surgery, and no, he wasn't getting his drugs. Thankfully, the girl survived, but the sad thing is, she will be going most likely to be deported once she recovers. So gangbanger who wants to kill me, let's never meet again. Hey guys, it's me, Dr. Midnight, but my real name's Ethan. I just wanted to say thank you guys for getting me to almost 100 subscribers, and I just wanted to let everybody know that the channel is officially a year old. And well, today's not its birthday, it was a few days ago. It was the day before I uploaded the last Tender Stories, but I just wanted to thank everybody for sticking around and getting me to where I'm at right now. I'm gonna start uploading a lot more. I kind of slowed down for a bit, but I'm back at it now. I just needed a little break. I had a lot going on in my life, but I'm back on it now, so yeah. Also, I haven't really had the chance to tell anyone, but I was in a collab with a lone wolf, another narrator, so I'm going to put the link to that in the description to this video if you're interested in watching it. I've been putting in the description my last few videos. I just never had the chance to tell anyone. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video.